Paul writes in Ephesians 4:1, I therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called. Now there's a lot in this verse, but notice that at the beginning of that verse, Paul starts out by saying, hey, I'm a prisoner. Now we don't know all the details of his imprisonment, but what we do know is that he was under some sort of house arrest, and so he had very little freedom. He had a little bit of freedom, but not a lot. He had enough that he could write letters to churches, but he was still a prisoner. Now, in a way, this was what we might call his full-time job, his full-time vocation. This is what he had to do throughout the day, even though he had some liberty. I point this out because Paul was in what we might call a non-ideal position. This was not something he would have wanted to be in. When he was a child, he didn't grow up wishing that he could one day be in prison. Yet even in the midst of that imprisonment, even in the midst of that non-ideal job, he still lived in a way that glorified God. There's something that we can learn from this. You may not be in an ideal job. You may be dreaming every day as you drive to your current job of being in a different job. But the reality is that if you are a follower of Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter what job you have. You can still glorify Him in your current position. And so, writing to a different church, Paul has this to say in Corinthians. He says, "For consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many of you were powerful. Not many of you were of noble birth." That's from 1 Corinthians 1:26. So Paul admitted that many in the church in Corinth did not have ideal jobs. They were in jobs that were not prosperous. They were not leaders or CEOs. Yet Paul tells them that even though they weren't in amazing jobs, to still focus on what God had called them to do. Now, this is important for us to see as Christians. Listen, no matter the job that you're in, no matter the circumstance, you are still called to glorify Jesus with your life. And that's because your calling as a Christian, it trumps your job or vocation. And so what you do is not the most important thing. Instead, it's what you are in Christ that's far more important. And so if you will live with that idea, then you can go into any job and you can glorify Him with your life.